Hey everyone, what's up? This is Jags here, and today we have our special guest, A Step Ahead, that will be tuning in with us for a band interview. But we're going to stop here, and we're going to go right ahead into getting to know A Step Ahead a little bit better. First things first, once again, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to go ahead and meet up with me here. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I've been listening to you guys for many years already. It's insane that the fact that you released In It to Win It back in roughly 2011, it's already 2020, and makes me feel even older, which I'm not proud of. But just so we can go ahead and get started.
I'm Colin. I play guitar and I do some singing in A Step Ahead.
I'm Nick. I'm the main singer. Well, I don't know the main singer.
Vocals.
I feel like that's not cool. I am the lead singer of the band, so yeah.
I'm Mike. I play guitar. And I'm Matt. I play bass.
As far as your band goes for A Step Ahead, when did you guys actually start, actually creating the band? Was there another direction you guys were originally leaning towards? Was there another direction you guys originally went off with? Because I know In It to Win It and stuff like that, there was more screaming. Kind of want you guys to try to start from old school. Let's build ourselves up to current.
Cool, yeah. Well, me and Nick, we're founders of the band. We started the band in 2000, was it late 2008 is our first practices.
So you feel old.
Yeah, 2008, late 2008, like October 2008 is when I met Nick. I was actually trying to recruit a different member that was in the band at the time to the band I was in, and it was the opposite. He was trying to recruit me into A Step Ahead. So I ended up coming to a practice, and I instantly noticed like the potential for dual vocal with me and Nick, and I felt the chemistry. And so it's like from the first get-go, it was almost like I'm like, all right, I'm playing. And so I actually played bass to start in the band. I'd say there was a period of time we started playing shows in 2009, the Clubhouse, which is an iconic venue, and I don't know if you ever went to shows at the Clubhouse in Tempe.
Yep.
And shows all around the valley. We did stuff with Local Frequency and other stuff like that, with just playing local shows and stuff like that. And then eventually decided to take the band on the road. So we started doing the Weekend Warriors around, we would go to Jerome, we go to Prescott, we go to Payson, or Flagstaff, and then we come home. And it started off with 3 days, and then we went to 1 week, and then we come home for a few months, then we go out for 2 weeks. So we eventually built up, and I booked all the shows. We built a network of just going a little further, and it eventually grew into doing, we traveled 2011 Warped Tour, and then followed the year after that with a full US tour. We went all the way to New York and back. So that I guess that's the progression of our touring and stuff. We put out several EPs in the meantime. Flash forward to now, we had downtime. It was downtime.
We got a bunch of our ladies pregnant.
So, I had children, so I pretty much stopped the touring. I booked the tour, so once I wasn't able to tour.
We were in it to win it, as you would say. Real quick, to go back to what you were saying is, like, did we always want to start as pop punk? In the beginning, we were all in different types of bands where that's alternative. I was in a grindcore band. Believe that.
Oh, wow.
And, I toured with the Number 12 Looks Like You, right, way back in the day. But we just wanted something different. And I remember sitting there listening to like 4 Year Strong when that album came out. What was that album?
Rise or Die Trying.
Rise or Die Trying. And I was like, this is it. This is what I need to do. And I just felt like a really strong connection to that. That was something that, and that's when A Day to Remember was starting to get their stride and all those things. And I remember being like, I love this. I love the heaviness, because I was still partial to metal. But also, I love Newfound Glory. I love all those pop punk. Like, it was just it was a good time for that era. So we were very focused on that in the beginning when we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
So it definitely explains a lot more of the whole screaming parts in certain songs here and there. I realized there wasn't much of that, but I can definitely tell you had a background in metal after hearing the screams at first, because I've heard so many bands try to scream. I'm sure you guys have as well, and you're like, yeah, I can do better than that. And then eventually you end up hearing it, and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
One thing that drew me to A Step Ahead from the beginning was that, like, from the get-go and just rehearsing before we ever played a show, is we wanted to push the elements of pop punk and heavy. It was even crazy. I mean, I'm telling you, before our first show, even, it was more chaotic. I mean, we would do like slamcore breakdowns with like pop punk parts, and eventually we started kind of refining it. And I'd say over the years, we've matured a lot too, and it came down to like, does it need to have a part? We worked with a producer, Curtis Douglas, who, shout out to Curtis. He did In It to Win It and On, and it came down to more like, what's the part? What's for the part? We actually remastered In It to Win It and put it out a couple of years ago as a remaster, right? Yeah. But working with him, it opened our eyes, to what fits the part. It's like, even In It to Win It, we remastered it and redid vocals on it. And it came down to like, we were like, I don't know if we should have screams. And even still, we did chants and it like didn't work. The screams stuck. So like that song, it fit. But from going forward, we kind of just took a different approach to writing the songs. So it just never really fit in places in those songs. So
writing with Curtis
we're not opposed
solo.
to doing it again, maybe, but it just really comes out what fits the song we're working on and where we feel like that.
I think
it's needed.
I think in the future I would like heavy elements. I do. I mean, it just hits different when you get that like heavy feeling part.
Oh,
And
definitely.
I love that. So I think at some point we might do something a little heavier.
You can come back around.
Not necessarily screaming, but I think just a little nostalgia to throw back in some of our music.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, what we're here for is more along the lines of the song that you guys wanted me to go ahead and review for you guys, Kicked in the Face. Now, after hearing that song, I have a pretty good understanding of what that song might be about. With that being said, though, however, I want to obviously hear your perspective of the song. Where did the original idea of the song come from? Was it just something, because I know a lot of songs that I've made in the past, it kind of just happens. You throw some lyrics over, you start revising. Was there original plan for this song, or did it kind of just end up happening?
The writing process starts with rhythms and melodies. So we wrote a vocal melody, and the vocal melody written originally was "You're like being kicked in the face."
Yeah.
So that was literally like how the song was written
It's
off
a
of that
placeholder.
chorus.
Yeah, it was like a placeholder.
That was literally, and it was like until we find something better to put there, "You're like being kicked in the face." That's like kind of what stuck. So it was like, all right. And so as we started writing the song, it's literally that's what really stuck. We didn't come up with anything better, and so the song kind of evolved around that, like being knocked down, and getting back up, and in the end being better. All our songs typically have a positive outlook on things. We're not negative band or anything like that. But I mean, that's kind of what I looked at it as. But it really came from that chorus line, and then the song developed around it.
We usually do collaborative writing sessions, so the ideas, while brought to the table from everybody, may have started off in one direction. Oftentimes, it evolves into something totally different.
Right.
So, to say that something happened to one of us, we brought it in and wanted to tell this whole story. Unfortunately, that's not the case.
Pretty much all our songs
But
we write all of our songs kind of from like not a fictional, but from like a perspective.
Well, here's
We
the
try to
thing,
be relatable, is what it is.
Right.
So what could we do to write about to make it relatable to everybody?
You may not know this. It may look like it on camera, but we're no supermodels. So when we write songs, right, I think when we came down to and we're thinking about it, it's like we've all had that time in our life when we liked a girl or something, right? And it just didn't turn out how you wanted it, or a guy for that matter.
Well, we've all been in relationships that have ended. I would imagine anybody at any point has been in a failed relationship. So whether
It's
or not
part of life,
what we're talking about, it's a relatable concept. So every song we try to write, whether it's Pretty When, Kicked in the Face, whatever, we try to write relatable content based on that, based on an idea, whether or not we had a personal story that brought to the table.
I got a lot.
Wasn't necessarily the case. Yeah. We try to stay along those themes every time we do come up with songs, or we are having writing sessions where we all come in and collab and spitfire lyrics over melodies that we've been working on, things like that.
So now, as far as the music video goes, was that something you guys originally had planned out as far as the overall thing, or did the the quote-unquote director go ahead and do that for you guys?
So originally, and I'm glad you actually brought it up. So we had a plan to shoot this music video. And
we had the director. We had the director. We had the idea.
We had the studio that we were going to use. We had everything. And
Actor,
essentially,
actress.
actress, we had concept, everything. And it was going to be a really cool concept. What transpired that day was, though, I remember not feeling so good that day when we started recording, and I started getting really hot.
It was hot.
It was hot.
We were in a warehouse that was very, very hot.
Yeah.
No matter let air flow.
Yeah.
It was hot. We were all
essentially what ended up happening is I had a panic attack out of nowhere.
Oh,
like I'd never had a panic attack before, to the point where I was like, I'm gonna pass out. So I had to go to the hospital. They had to check me out and figure it out.
The ambulance showed up. Fire truck
Ambulance,
showed
like
up.
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Video halted.
Middle of the shoot, we're in the middle of shooting, we look over and there are paramedics coming in the door and going into the side office, and we're like, oh, we should probably stop.
I'm like, this is definitely not a part of the video.
No, it's not.
No.
Yeah.
Nick is down.
But ever since then, I've been like a really big mental health advocate. So dissecting life and trying to, which I can plug right now. I have a clothing company called Rehuman, REHUMN.com. And it really goes over like mental health. You can donate to different places. So we basically shot it a year later,
Right.
because of what happened. But
We
when
didn't see Nick for
he didn't see me for like 6 or 7 months because I was trying to figure out all the stuff that was going on with me. But after that, we ended up coming back together, and we, used the same director. But we had the concept of, let's just make it fun.
We had all the same props. We had a lot of the back end investments already paid for with the props, but the actress actually moved out of state in that time that we had. And so a lot of things just had changed. We had the same director, we had the props. And so the director basically said, I have a warehouse, I have a place we can shoot this at, or not a warehouse, a studio, a nice studio. And we ended up shooting it there.
Yeah, with AC.
Which, side note, we shot the same day Kobe's chopper went down. I'll never forget that.
It was the saddest day. I couldn't
Yeah.
Oh,
It
jeez.
was definitely a shocker. We're like really about to roll, about to start shooting.
Everyone's phones started
And,
going up.
yeah, they had a TV in the green room, and it's like, Kobe's dead. It was a shocker for sure. But never forget that. But yeah, we shot the video in one day. Decided to just do performance and have fun. Just make fun with it, and just you could tell we had a good time. It was a lot of cleaning up and then making a mess, and then cleaning up and then making a mess.
it turned out really well.
His first take was nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we came back and we were like, "This
We'd be
is
sitting
awesome."
behind the camera, like, we don't need to do
Yeah,
it.
great.
He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, so basically, long story.
Before we actually got started here, we started talking a little bit more about bands that are also related to you guys, which is still also really ironic to me too, because my buddy Wade, once again from Knockout Kid, very similar style to you guys as well. I think it's really funny because he's been the one helping me with the voiceovers for the series. He's been the one going ahead, and he allowed me to use, I can't even remember the name on the back of my head, but it's my outro song for all the videos as of right now too. But remember last time talking to him, he remembers you guys very, very well, which clearly you guys made a good impact back in the East Coast too, because all the people he knows and all of his friends and bands, they all know your name.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's so cool to
It's
hear.
crazy to think, man.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons we've stayed together so long as a band in general, like, none of us formed crazy drug habits. Like, I've been friends for years.
Yeah, we're
like,
friends
we just
outside
like
the
to
band.
hang out. We just like to enjoy each other's company, and anybody that's we tour with or a band or like that, we bring them into our family, and we hope they do the same, and we just try to have like a good time.
Right. And we did spend a couple of really hot, long summers plugging our band super hard.
Yeah.
Like 120-degree heat for Warped Tour. And I know we made a lot of long-term fans from that. And that was really cool, too, man. 2011, we did that with Archaic Clothing. We traveled
wow.
all, I think it was 53 days.
Yeah.
Whew.
53 days. We might have missed a few.
You went up to Canada.
Yeah, that was wild.
Did it all.
So
Yeah.
speaking of that, you mentioned that you guys played Warped Tour more than a handful of times and everything as well. What would you probably say was probably one of the highlighted moments for you when you guys actually went on tour? Any special, like, particular band that you were excited that you got to play, like, the same show with, or just an overall experience?
For a show, it was actually here at the Nile in Mesa. It was 4 Years Strong. We opened a show with them, and that show will always be memorable because I had my family there. My mom actually came. Well, my mom's been to a lot of my local shows, but she came, and it was really impressive to her because it was such a packed out show, and we made a lot of long-term Arizona fans from that show too that still to this day say, "Oh, we saw you at 4 Years Strong."
Yeah.
That was a cool one. On the road, the one memory that comes to mind is that we crossed paths with our good friends Foxy Shazam. Yeah, those are good times too. We
Fun
crossed
fact:
paths.
Foxy Shazam helped us record our first EP.
Just thinking back to, like, you said Warped Tour specifically. When we started off on Warped Tour 2011, we weren't really playing. We were just there with Archaic Clothing, but we interacted with every band we possibly could. I think there's a video somewhere on YouTube where we literally went to bands asking them to say something about A Step Ahead. I mean, we talked to Pierre from Simple Plan.
Everybody.
I mean, A Day to Remember.
I still
was
talk to
there.
him today.
Ron Jeremy was
Ron Jeremy was
I'm going to mention him now. He's got some bad.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't follow the
Yeah.
Ron Jeremy.
He was a little weird when we met him though too. I'm not
Oh,
gonna
that's
lie.
awesome.
That
We gave him
tour
some
was
merch.
that tour was crazy in general though. Just the amount of, like,
Yeah,
awesome
daily
bands and
contacts.
artists that were there, and I remember being like, fan struck going through catering, and you're like, shit, is Haley Williams behind me right now?
I'm not gonna say I do get fan struck a little bit on some bands, but for the most
Yeah.
part, like, I just want you to be cool. Like, if you're
Right.
a cool person, right?
Yes,
Like,
right.
so the most memorable moments for me is when I get to tour with a really cool band and you guys just jive real well. Like I love all that. So for me, it's like local bands like the Fair and Debonair, right?
Some
like
of my favorite memories.
one of my best buddies going on tour and reading comics and drinking and screaming booze.
I knocked out my teeth one show. I think these guys like to make fun of me about that.
It's
So the fake.
Yeah.
The bass still has a chip.
I tried my first and only guitar swing ever. And
I had a feeling I had to do something with a swing.
I was just feeling it. Man. Oh, it was a month before we got
Month?
Yeah.
Four locals?
Yeah.
Four locals?
Yeah, I was trying to find my next four locals. Smell.
My friends and family thought I was crazy. 'Cause I've orchestrated all this stuff, you know? I was like the ringleader of the fucking putting it all together and booking it all and like hopping in the van. Usually when we go up for tour, I'd be like, all right, guys, we need like $100 from every member because we need to have something to start with. And then we'd start with that, man. But one thing, the reason what kept us going is whether there was 5 kids there or 100 kids there or whatever at the show, the one thing I will say is if there was 5 kids there, the bands were always supporting us. They would buy merch. So the reality is like no matter what, we would always end up getting to the next city and we'd always have money. Like we continued because we were able to contain, or sustain, I should say.
Yeah.
So like I give a shout out to all those bands we like share stages with, the local bands that you put on those shows. Because like I said, we show up and there were some shows were fantastic. You never knew what you were gonna get. That's what I love about tour too. Is you spend all day going to a destination, you find the destination, and you don't know what to expect. I would communicate with the promoter or the bands putting it together and try to like keep contact with them to make sure they weren't like slacking. But you can only do so much and check on them so much, so you don't know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you get great shows and they were fantastic, and sometimes there were 5 kids, and even when there were 5 kids, we played the same. And we would end up realizing, we'd be like, hey, I look at Mike, I'd be like, Mike, dude, we did like 450 in merch tonight. We're going to be all right today, dude. Because it was mainly because everybody there supported us. So it's always a huge shout out to the people. It doesn't matter who you are, how many people go to a show. Huge shout out to anyone that goes to a touring band show and buys merch. Because that literally is what sustains. Shout out to anybody. For real, man. I mean, it's literally.
Those become like your lifelong fans too. You hang out with them. Yeah.
Right.
Your friends, you go shower at their house.
Right, yeah. And that was another fun part, too, is figuring out where you're going to sit.
I would just like to bring up that we started touring when we had to MapQuest and print out directions to places.
Mike's phone was the only one that had service because he had Verizon. And I was like, Mike, I need your phone. I can't, my phone's not working. Yeah, that's how it was, man. I got a question for you. Is that allowed?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, any questions you guys got for me too? Yeah, go for it.
What do you think of the Machine Gun Kelly, Travis Barker, like Blink song? Have you heard that yet?
I tried taking a little listen to it, although I'm not a huge fan of Machine Gun Kelly, but I do love Travis Barker. So I tried listening to it a little bit. It's not my go-to kind of music in general. Obviously, I try to go ahead and get out of my comfort zone, try to explore new possibilities, a wider variety, I should say, of genres. I will say it's not the worst thing I've ever heard.
Right.
But I mean, I will give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
I give his engineer credit where credit's due.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, was it Feldman?
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. There you go. I think he's cool doing other things, but I just like, you know when you hear like a true pop punk band and like it just hits you in the feels, you know what I mean? Like
it's very produced.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the one thing I have been stuck on was the fact that Mike Herrera from MXPX is now helping out with Goldfinger.
I love it. That's cool.
That I think is the best thing in the world because I absolutely love Goldfinger. Obviously, been brought up with them since Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And then going more towards like MXPX.
The demo comes out tomorrow for Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Really?
I know. I'm going to be playing it for my channel, so I mean, I got to be doing that.
I'm gonna look because I have it too. I have it ready to go.
My wife had on that show with like Chip and Joanna Gaines. What's that? They're in Waco, Texas, and they like flip houses or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah. Oh no, it's what is it called?
One of those flip house
Yeah, it's
shows.
one of those
on that HGTV channel.
Yeah,
I think I know what you're talking
And
about.
I turned it on, I'm like, that's fucking Mike from MXPX. And they built this whole studio, and on the Goldfinger.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember seeing Mike Herrera post up something about that. I think I saw it. I want to say it was on Twitter or something since I follow him. I remember seeing him do that, and then I watched the sneak peek preview that he put up, and I'm like, he is the most awkward human being I've ever seen. And he's
What
back.
about,
Going back to classic A Step Ahead here. As far as the older music you guys originally wrote and got music videos out for and everything, personally, for each individual one of you, what would you say would be your favorite album as of now?
I'm going to say for me, it's going to be All or Nothing, which is our second EP we put out. Because if I'm just talking A Step Ahead, lyrically, that was the most, deep I went personally. That was before we met with Curtis and we kind of took a different writing approach as a collaborative and doing, like, concepts more or less. There was concepts, but it was more personal.
Yeah.
There's a song called Against All Odds where I write about a friend who has alcohol problems, and that song's really personal to me. Make Moves Not Excuses is a song about literally that, having friends that are all about talk, not about action. I have Sleeps for the Dead tattooed on my arm, which is basically like live your life to the fullest kind of thing. So for me, All or Nothing was personally, lyrically, hits home for me.
I think our first album,
Party Hardy,
man. And it just brought back so many good memories. We used to party so hard.
Nick lived on Hardy Street. In fact, I think everybody in the band but me at the time lived in the same house on Hardy Street.
Yeah.
In Tempe, so we called it Party Hardy. Yeah.
And I think it's like when you first start a band, you're so excited, right? You know what I mean? You're just like, this is it, we're going to do it. And
putting your music down for the first time together was a great experience.
Yeah, it's a cool new beginning, and I love looking at our progression from the beginning to where we're at now, and it is light years different than we used to be. But it's cool to be able to look back on that first album, which I actually listened to probably like a little bit ago, and I was like, hot damn, we were terrible.
My favorites, I joined the band late, so when I first discovered A Step Ahead, it was when they released the In It to Win It EP, and
Mike was 10.
Yeah, close enough. And I loved it at the time. The band I was in opened for that CD release show. But then the first EP that we put out that I was a part of was Subtitles. So, I mean, that to me, obviously, because of that, holds a little bit of weight because of the fact that it was my first.
I wasn't in the band. Was I in the band?
Yeah, you were part of the whole process.
Subtitles.
Yeah.
You know what I remember specifically from Subtitles, actually, that we're bringing it back? Do you guys remember, we were all like, well, I can only speak for me. I was extremely high at the time.
I lied. You were, we all were.
Yeah, okay.
Well, maybe not Matt because of the band.
Do you remember when we were sitting on the couch and this dude threw like a peppermint into a Coke bottle this big from like 100 feet away?
I vaguely do, yeah.
Do you remember that? And I remember being like really.
That's what you remember from the whole album.
I don't remember being that. I'm sorry. I remember being really blown away. But I was like, man, this is great.
Yeah. As many years as I've been in this band, I joined with Colin's favorite. We toured on All or Nothing. That was already recorded and released. Toured on that. Finished college. I moved to Vegas for a few years. So they did In It to Win It, Subtitles,
and Failure
by Design. When I moved back and rejoined, I was playing shows on Failure by Design.
Right.
And so I missed it's funny, and I've been in the band, I feel like my whole life.
You're like,
I was a part of like the recording process of a lot of these songs. So for me, it's all the new stuff, right? So Pretty When On is where I kind of had my input and my, my influences into the mix.
The way Matt came in and out of the band when he moved to Vegas was like literally, he said it right. Like it was like we released an album, we toured that album, he joined, and then he left, and then we worked on a bunch of albums, and he came back. So like Matt's involvement on albums, even though Matt's toured with the band a lot. Like, I think he played a lot of our tour days. He played with us, but as far as like involvements on the record itself, so it's more.
And I've been back in the band since 2015.
Right.
Yeah.
We also haven't put out. I mean, our last EP was a long time ago, so we've been doing singles now.
So I've been in the band for 6 years, but like my actually writing on the record has only been with the latest single since Pretty Much.
You know a question you should ask like band members?
What's
like,
that?
Who's your favorite band member and why?
Favorite band member and why?
Rating each other.
Why are you trying to make conflicts now?
Because I'm trying to grow his podcast. Or not his. I'm trying to grow.
You're trying to break up the band, bro.
Either that, or it'll make you guys stronger and closer. Who knows?
Maybe. Right?
That's why he's not my favorite.
Until we know who they are.
As far as progression goes, from what I've personally heard from you guys, there is definitely a lot of progression as far as the skills that you guys have as far as all instrument goes. Obviously, for vocals, you can definitely hear Everything has become a little bit more relaxed. It's definitely smoother. There's a lot more vocal techniques I've been hearing from you guys personally that really stand out, especially when I was listening to Kicked in the Face. You know, it's funny because before I listened to that song, before I asked you guys what song you guys wanted me to review, I've been stuck on more of a metal kind of post-hardcore kick for a while, and that's all I was listening to for maybe, I don't know, a little over a year and a half. There was no pop punk music whatsoever, so I kind of fell away from my roots, I guess you could say. And it was really funny because the very first pop song I got back into listening was your song. So it's coming back to like nostalgia almost for me. And being able to hear that, it was a little different for me at first because, like I said before, I listened to your older albums back from 2011, 2012, and I haven't listened to you guys in quite some time. And then hearing this, I'm like, is this really the same band? And I went ahead, I listened to everything again. I was like, this is, I mean, I loved your early stuff too, but the way you guys like progress and the way you are now, everything is like, you got everything down to a T. And it just sounds so much
It's unfortunate
better.
it took a hiatus to get to that point, but when we finally came back, yeah, we try to make sure we came back strong and did things the right way and didn't waste money the way we used
Yeah,
to.
Step Ahead wasn't a thing for what?
Well, and even
A couple of years.
and even musically, when we went back into the studio to write Kicked in the Face and Pretty Wet and stuff like that, we wanted to go back to like, you know, early 2000s pop punk vibes, you know.
Definitely.
But then also be, you know, contemporary and stay modern and stay, you know, like relevant. But that's cool to hear that from you, man.
Yeah, it's a really nice compliment.
Really appreciate it.
I think.
I mean, bands don't hear that a lot either. That's the problem. Like, you guys work so hard. You've been doing this stuff for like you said, 10 plus years now. And it's just like, you know, a lot of bands don't get that positive reinforcement back.
Because people are stupid.
You're not wrong.
Let me be honest with you, right? Everything is a trend and things come back around.
Yeah.
That is the nature of who we are. That's the nature of the world, right?
Yeah.
So I remember those, like Newfound Glory, who I will always love, just like you have the tattoo, because they have stayed true to what their sound is.
Right.
And it's like people are finding them again, like you've never heard of them.
Yeah.
So personally, for me, I love the idea of going to late 90s, early 2000s pop punk where our song could be featured in 10 Things I Hate About You, right? You remember the time when there was a pop punk song, American Pie, that stuff where it tells the story. And I always loved that. So that is something that I think we'll probably always have like a little resemblance to, because really one day I want to be the score of the soundtrack of the movie.
I think if there was a word of the day, the word of the day is nostalgia.
I'm not even exaggerating. Since the last time you guys shot me a message, hey, review this song, I've listened to every single album in order.
Dude,
I appreciate that.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
As bad as some of them were.
Yeah.
I won't say they're bad.
If we're gonna dissect like music in general, like you look at pop punk nowadays, and this is just my opinion, it's not true for all pop punk, but it almost sounds like it's getting to that 90s like grunge, like I'm sad.
It's very
like emo-ish.
punk
man.
is turning
And, like,
a lot of punk is turning emo-ish.
and I'm about putting out good vibes. I'm about being happy and putting out like cool things, because I think that's what we
I think
need
that
right
resonates
now.
with people too.
Yeah, to me, pop punk has always been in my deep in my heart, man, because it gives you a mood, man. It gives you a feel, you know, and like you said, it has a nostalgia to it, you know. So I mean, we've actually seen from Kicked in the Face in particular, from our video postings and stuff on social media, we've seen actually a lot of people saying like similar things, like it's bringing it back to 2000s. A lot of people that hadn't heard of, you know, the big pop punk bands in years because they listened to like, you know, Billie Eilish or whatever.
Eyelash?
Billie Eilish? I don't know, dude. That's what I'm saying, bro. I don't know. Like,
Billie Eilish, yeah.
You know.
He didn't even correct himself.
He doesn't even know.
Billie Eilish, bro.
Eilish.
Oh, that's amazing.
Eyelash issues.
Please leave that in.
It just happens to be like mainstream radio. Is pop punk, you know, isn't really in the mainstream pop culture. So unless you seek out that music, which kind of brings me back to how streaming, I feel like, has just changed the game for so many artists. Like, I've looked at artists that I haven't heard in a long time, and some of them have no plays. Like, I was like, what? You know, twice as many plays as this band, you know? And then some bands that are old school, like Finch, other bands might have a lot, you know? It's opened the door up for those old artists and other people to continue to listen to them, you know? You don't have to have a CD anymore, you know what I mean? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a physical and tangible, like, CD or record or whatever.
Although I like having
You can.
Well, maybe it's just the
Right.
old person.
It's old school.
Like I like.
But the reality is now it's on every device. It's accessible
And
everywhere.
you don't have to spend $1 a track.
Right, exactly.
You just
So,
have to spend $15.99.
so I feel like it's opened
Yeah.
a door for a lot of people, a lot of artists.
So let's ask you, what is your favorite Step Ahead song?
I think it would actually be a tie between This One's For You and In It to Win It itself. Those would probably be the two for that album. If we were to go up a little bit more towards your singles, I know I just listened to it today, but I already listened to it about like 5 times. Silence is Golden. It's so good.
Thank you
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man.
I mean, a song is good when you get chills down your spine and your eyes start tearing up a little bit. That's how you know you hit your audience. Like,
Yeah, thank you.
just to wrap things up, just to try something new, do you guys have any questions for me by any chance? Anything as far as maybe, I don't know, what's coming in the future for other bands, maybe if you guys want to get in contact with other bands, maybe if you want to do something like we're doing right here, and maybe we can actually have a band conversation.
That'd be really cool.
That'd be a lot of fun.
I not so much questions, but I do want to give you a compliment. And this was really nice. It was cool to do how you did this. I like your questioning. I like your energy that you're bringing to this. And I really hope that you're super successful with this and you continue to keep doing it because I think what you're doing is really good.
Yeah, this is
Greatly
fun, man.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
We love doing this. And you've been great, just kind of leading the conversation.
Yeah, man.
Kind of great guy.
Let's do it again, all right?
But yeah, that is kind of all the time I do have here for today. I realize we've been already at this for about an hour and 22 minutes, which is, we're doing really good. So that exceeded my expectations. But once again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to do this here with me. And I will definitely be in touch with you guys soon again.
Yeah, man,
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank you.
All right.
Take it easy.
Take it easy, guys.